It's Overreaction Monday, and I kind of forgot to put Overreaction Monday in the comments or the title of the show. But over the weekend, Kelly Green got leaked. Today, less than an hour, Kelly Green goes on sale. But the Phillies are leaking oil as well as we get to the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We're going to talk Phillies and the Eagles today. We are going to mix some Phillies conversation in this week. Got my man Alec Kostival joining us to talk Major League Baseball trade deadline at 8:30 a.m. Trending in the a.m. right here on Philadelphia Sports Network starts in 30 seconds. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Can you guys hear me? Something's wrong with my speakers. I'm not hearing anything in my earpiece, but I'm hearing it through my computer. So I want to make sure you guys can hear me here as we get started here. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days. We're live. Make sure you hit that like button, the share button, the subscribe button, etc., etc., etc. You know, that's the best way to interact with the show, etc. Make sure you tell a friend, do all that great stuff where your opinions actually matter. Good morning, my man, Tyrone. How you doing today? Phil, I thought I saw it. No, I was not in line. No way. I'd be getting in line for the Kelly Greens. No way, no way, no way. Who is the Hall of Fame game? People actually watch the Hall of Fame game, Mad Chatter? I don't. Sorry, I got to fix something real quick here on my computer here. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Just make sure that works. Was trying to mess with something there, but anyway, guys, Phil waiting for merch. You guys could buy my merch instead of waiting in line. Instead of waiting in line at the link for Kelly Green merch, you could just go on the link in the bio of this show on YouTube and buy the merch that says Trending in the AM. Aim higher. Sound was a little wrecked. Now it's better. Gotcha. I appreciate that. So I'm having problems with my soundboard, so I was talking to the company that made it. They told me to move some plugs around. Obviously, I didn't test that. I just put it back to the way it is. So if the sound dies in the middle of the show like it did on Friday, I don't know what to tell you. It's time to buy some new stuff. Those $5 super chats go towards, new microphone setup. When you wake up, it's a good day. Hey, Tyrone, that's a fantastic positive attitude to take this morning. When you wake up, it is a positive day. Doesn't matter the dreck of the Phillies. We still got the positivity of the Eagles in training camp. And we got a jam-packed show today. We do. I got my man Alec Kostival. He's been on the show before. He writes Phillies content for Philadelphia Sports Network. We're going to talk a little bit about the Phillies slumping their way towards the trade deadline, what they can and should do at the deadline. Of course, Eagles training camp. Shout out to Brian Cameron and Mike Greger, Philadelphia Sports Network Eagles writers, who are down there with the press credentials around their neck, covering the Eagles game or covering the Eagles practices. So lots of positivity there and a lot of great content. Jets Brown, that's the Hall of Fame game. Who cares? I don't. Distin Crum and Chad Kelly tear. Who? What? Yeah, no. Sorry. Anyway, so we're going to get started with a little Phillies talk here today. We will talk a little Eagles as well. We will get to the Eagles after the guest leaves the show as well. Good morning, Adam. How you doing today? So Phillies, leaking oil, getting to the deadline. What should have been a very winnable series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, they dropped the last two games up. And I put out a tweet last week, and it got some, blowback, got some feedback, got some positive, negative, whatever, all over the place. Have we seen a team like this Phillies in football, baseball, basketball, any sport where the manager does so many things that are so questionable, yet they still win more than they lose? And when do the wheels fall off of that? Rob Thompson, move after move after move that he makes, we question. Kyle Schwarber still in the leadoff spot with a 183 batting average. Bryson Stott still getting benched almost every time there's a lefty on the mound even though he's in the top 10 in Major League Baseball in hits. He's got better numbers against lefties and righties, but still, whatever. Pulling Chris Sanchez yesterday, with 73 pitches, even though he had a no-hitter going. Now it came out after the game that he had an upset stomach or something like that. He wasn't feeling well. Is there, if Nick Sirianni started pulling the kind of stuff that Rob Thomson does, whether the results were positive, like for the most part, we did lose 2 out of 3 of the Pirates, which is not good going into the deadline. Definitely not a good vibe after this weekend in Phillies camp. But if Rob Thomson, or if Nick Sirianni was pulling Rob Thomson level quality crap, we'd be crushing Nick Sirianni. If he was pulling, last year Jordan Mailata to put Andre Dillard in there because that's what the analytics said to do, we would have crushed him for it. If he would have, I don't even know how the Eagles could do it. Going for it on 4th down when he shouldn't, going for it or punting when he should be going for it, kicking field goals, whatever it may be. We would crush Nick Sirianni for it. But Rob Thomson gets a pass. Philly Rob's a cool guy. Everybody likes Rob Thomson. And it's unpopular to criticize him. When does Rob get a set lineup and stay with it? Well, the problem is, Adam, you can't set a lineup because you've got so many people in the lineup right now that are struggling. Yet somehow we're only a half a game out. We were in the lead of the wild card. Now we're a half a game out of the wild card at this moment after those last 2 losses. But Trey Turner can't bat in the top of the order right now because he stinks. Nick Castellanos is struggling right now. JT Realmuto struggling right now. Kyle Schwarber hits home runs but does nothing. It's not even like he's got like a 340, 350 on base percentage, Kyle Schwarber. It's like 320, which is pedestrian for a leadoff hitter. We used to crush Jimmy Rollins in this town because he was the leadoff hitter and he wouldn't get on base more. But Kyle Schwarber, it's cool. It's cool. It's okay. I just can't fathom. Could you imagine? We already crushed Doc Rivers in this city. Can you imagine if Doc Rivers was solely all of a sudden the analytics said you got to play Korkmaz over D'Anthony Melton in this game because of the size and the matchup? Do you understand how much we would crush Doc Rivers for that? But Philly Rob gets a pass. And this team is super talented. He has waited too long to try to bump Trey Turner down in the lineup to kind of give him an opportunity to get out of his slump. Sanchez should have stayed in the game. Now, it came out after the game that he wasn't feeling well. What is up, Eric? How you doing? It is Happy Overreaction Monday. It's a beautiful week in Philadelphia. The heat has broken. We're going to see low 80s, upper 70s all week. We're not going to be dripping sweat all week. It's going to be a fantastic week. Got big camp pizza orders every single day. It's going to be a good week, Eric. I'm feeling the $500 super chat dropping this week without a shadow of a doubt. I think that's going to happen. But anyway, just think about it. The way Rob Thomson manages, not just the fact that he gets away with it on a regular basis. And I've been criticizing him since last year for these moves. And because we went to the World Series, I was supposed to give him a pass. And this team is still winning more than it's losing, so I'm supposed to give him a pass. But if any other Philadelphia coach ran their team the way Rob Thomson runs the Phillies, we'd crush him. Any other Phillies manager of the past 20 years, even with Charlie Manuel winning us a World Series in 2008, we still crushed him on a daily basis. Now, not on this show because I wasn't doing this in 2008, 9, 10, but I was still listening to the radio back then. We were still crushing him on the radio. Anybody in Eagles in Sixers history, we crush them. But for some reason, Rob Thomson gets this pass. And I am seeing slightly a turn in the momentum towards my side. You see fewer or more and more people starting to try to criticize Rob Thomson. And look, the players play for him. They win for him. Despite anything that he does wrong, they still win for it. And it boggles my mind. It blows my mind. I don't know how it is. Like if I'm Bryson Stott and I'm this young kid, I think I saw a picture that he's expecting a child. Congratulations to Bryson Stott. I didn't even know he was old enough to have a kid. I guess in this day and age, it don't matter. But, if I'm Bryson Stott, I got to be thinking, what do I got to do to prove that I'm an everyday player? And I know some people will say, well, he plays every day, whatever. No, he doesn't start every day. And that's the thing. You're putting him in as a defensive replacement some games, whatever. Pinch hitter late in a game, whatever. That doesn't count starting the game. And that sends a message to your team that your best players aren't playing, but your worst players that are making the most money get a pass. It is upsetting to talk to Phillies, but we got it. It's a big week in baseball with the trade deadline happening tomorrow. So there will be some baseball today. There will be some baseball Wednesday. I got guests lined up for 8:30 today and 8:30 on Wednesday, just a little bit. And then at the second half of the show, we'll get back to football, which brings us joy. The Kelly Green dude, I gotta say, we'll get back to baseball in a second. But people, y'all know I'm not a Kelly Green guy. Y'all know I think the Kelly Green is extremely overrated. My man, there are people camping out at 4 a.m. My man, from 4th and John, he's sitting out there at 4 a.m. Like, come on, guys. It's not like this stuff's not going to be available on sale in like 45 minutes. Is Kelly Green that special? I almost think people are just doing it because they're bored. Like, I cannot imagine camping out at 4 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever the time was. It was 6 a.m. and the line was around the block. You got media, news cameras there. People are camping out for Kelly Green Eagles gear. Like, seriously, I don't get it. It literally, like, I'm a little over the top with my Kelly Green hate. It's fun because I know it just rubs people the wrong way. I don't dislike it as much as I say. I'm not rushing out to buy it. Someone wants to buy me Kelly Green? Sure, I'd wear it. But I'm not running out to buy it. Problem is, like, I don't get where these people are coming from that it's so important to them to be the first person to have a Jalen Hurts Kelly Green. And, dude, the people, 40, 50, 60 people back in line, they're going to be out of the stuff you want when you get there. It's ridiculous. Who you think the Phillies are trying to get to that? That's what, Adam, we're going to get to that when my guest joins us, Alex, at 8:30 a.m. And you're going to be surprised that I don't think they should be major buyers at the deadline. So we'll get to that in a few minutes when our guest joins us, and we talk a little bit more detail about that. I'm a hella scared for the Eagles. Anytime there's optimism and excitement for a Philly team, there always is a massive letdown. See Sixers and Phillies. See, the thing is, the Phillies last year didn't have the optimism that, at the beginning of the year. They exceeded expectations, kind of like the Eagles last year. The Sixers, on the other hand, it's been such a pleasure for the last 2 or 3 weeks to not talk Sixers on this show. Since about 2 weeks ago, we went 95% Eagles with a little dabble in Phillies. I've been so happy. I've had a bigger smile on my face because I don't have to talk about that Sixers team disappointing us. I don't even know when the Sixers, until something happens with James Harden or Tobias Harris, which might be today. It might be 2 weeks from now. It might be during training camp. Until that stuff happens, like, I'm so happy to not talk Sixers right now, which is crazy because we literally spent weeks on end talking the Sixers and nonstop after the season ended. Like, it was every day after the season ended. It was Sixers, 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 and not positivity. This Eagles team, I don't care that they're don't be scared about the positivity and optimism because it's not blind faith. It's not like we're talking Eagles and Phillies got them projected at 7 wins. And they're the 15th, 17th best team. And the Eagles, and we're all Eagles fans, say, no, they're going to win 15 games and win the Super Bowl. No. They're coming off a Super Bowl appearance. They got the best team in the NFC. They've gotten better from last year, arguably. There's no need to be worried about the positivity surrounding this Eagles team. Let's not talk Sixers. Yeah, don't. We're going to say if anybody mentions the Sixers, they get a 30-minute block in the chat group. How about that? You still got to like the show and stuff like that. Again, and make sure you're liking the video. We got 9 likes so far on YouTube, 3 on Facebook. Likes equal helping the algorithm get more people, man. The views last week on this show, most considered 4 straight days, over 150 views on this show, over 25 likes, 4 straight days. Fantastic. That's because you guys, the fam, the core, the guys that are here every day are helping us out. What is good, my man, Mitch? How you doing today? We got Phillies, trade deadline, and we got Eagles. And the mass rush to wait 10 hours in line to get Kelly Green. I got some notes from camp that I want to get into the second half of the show, and we will talk about that a little bit. I left my notebook at work, so I've got the name of the guy that's coming on the show here, and that's it. Everything else is going off of right here. Disgruntled James Harden or Kelly Green. You got to pick one. I'll take the Kelly Green over disgruntled James Harden at this point, for sure. I don't want anything to do with James Harden talk, period. I will literally spend an hour on this show talking Kelly Green over James Harden. I read an interesting article right before I went on the air, and it was talking about the Kelly Green and the nostalgic version of it and why people like it. And it's got to do with the nature of what Philadelphia was all about in the early 90s and the late 80s. And it was the hard-nosed, fight, tough, it represented what Philadelphia is about, that Eagles team. And even though we did not win a title, a playoff game, anything, the type of team they were, the gritty, down on, blue collar mentality, fight extra hard for every inch kind of team and personality that the Eagles fans and the city gravitated towards them. And all the young people that are gravitating towards Kelly Green now, it's because their families, their parents, their grandparents told them about the 80s and the 90s and what it was all about. Not just on the team, but the city as a whole. And it really struck me. It really made sense to me when I heard it put that way. The family tradition about handing it down to your kids and talking about, blue-collar Philadelphia and what that's all about. And I get that. And I think that really, really, resonated a little bit with me there. And it really made a lot of sense to me right there. And again, I'm not going to run out and get it, but the talking about what it meant in Philadelphia meant a lot. And it kind of struck a core, and maybe I got it, a little understand. It's gangrene. But what did gangrene represent for you? It represented blue-collar, hard-nosed, tough work. That's what it represented. Not just the losses in the playoffs. I always say Midnight Green's better because Midnight Green equals Super Bowls and Super Bowl victories. Gangrene did not. Or Kelly Green did not. So those things combined there, that's where that goes. That Midnight Green will always be special because we won our first. And exactly. And that's why that's what I've always thought. And I've always felt that way. But maybe we're overlooking us hardcore Midnight Greens. Maybe we're overlooking the rest of it right there. I'm going to send a quick message to my guest to make sure he's awake anytime. And so the Kelly Green, I get it now. Kelly Green is, I will buy someone a Kelly Green jersey if somebody drops the $500 super chat. Something like that. Look. I take my Kelly Green issues a little far for fun. Yeah, I know it rubs so many people the wrong way. I get it. I do. So many people are like so offended when I say Kelly Green sucks. Hey, it's good. If that's the worst clickbait over the top reaction stuff that I do ever in the history of the show, then I think I'm doing pretty damn good. If that's the worst I go with right there, because yeah, it's not bad at all. Anyway, we're still waiting for Alex to jump on in here. Not sure exactly where he is just yet. Kids, waking up early, it ain't easy. So we'll get into some Eagles talk here, and we'll talk a little bit about what we saw, what we heard, and again, Brian Cameron, Mike Greger, shout out to them for doing a great job covering Eagles camp on Friday and Sunday. Philadelphia Sports Network, man, make sure you're following their website, following all social media platforms, because we got those credentials. We got guys down there practice now starting on Friday. And these guys are doing a great job covering. You don't need to worry about, you don't need to worry about ESP or the ones I like Chris Franklin and Eric Kratz. I love following along. But you got to follow my boys at PSN instead. Kids these days, you know what it is. I'm thinking this is an organizational attempt to take the bad juju off the Kelly Green. Yeah, it could be that. Could be that. Could be an organizational attempt to just make more money, Tyrone. I really think that a lot of the Midnight Green stuff, or the Kelly Green, is just going to make them a crap. Just imagine the amount of money they're going to make down there today. Just that there's 3 official pro shops. The park somewhere else and down in Lancaster. They are going to make so much money today. Kelly Green's just a money grab. And that offends people when I say that, for sure. I know that. Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith will be key factors this year. Desai will give everyone a shot. Everyone on everywhere. Outside of a core like 10 guys on this team, everybody's getting a shot at running back. Everybody's getting a shot at wide receiver 3. Everyone's getting a shot on the line, on defense. There's people getting shots everywhere. There is a concern that came out of camp, guys, so far. And I've seen multiple people write about it. I brought this up after practice 1. Practice 1 was Thursday, right? No, Wednesday. Thursday was a walkthrough that was closed. Friday was the next practice. I brought this up after Wednesday's practice when we did let's overreact to the first day of practice. And it was that we didn't hear anything about Nakobe Dean. We didn't hear anything about Morrow, our other starting linebacker. We barely heard anything about Christian Ellis or any of the other linebackers. And I know we love to talk about, Budda Baker and bringing Budda Baker in here. I know we love that at safety. But Sidney Brown's impressed. You got Reed Blankenship. You brought in a veteran like Terrell Edmonds. The linebacker right now is a key concern. And from what I've read after yesterday, finally some of the reporters are saying, is it a concern that Nakobe Dean hasn't made any mistakes really, but hasn't done anything to shine? Morrow, the other starting linebacker, has been bad so far. Basically. Ellis, Davian Taylor, they've had a few moments, but they haven't actually done anything to earn the job away from Morrow. Right now, you've got Nakobe Dean. And if you've got a practice squatter in what's his name, Christian Ellis earning that second spot, that's not a good position to look at. That's not looking good on paper. You've got this great defensive front. You've got the best cornerback duo in football. You've got really solid safeties. Yet, the linebacker core, Nakobe Dean and whoever else. So it's only been 4 practices. But that's 4 practices, not 1. I was overreacting after 1 practice. 4 practices, now you got my attention that this linebacker core needs to be looked at not just as a depth. You don't need to go out and get a depth piece. You might need to go get a Devin, the guy from Tampa Bay. You might need to go get Miles Jack. You might need to go get Patrick Queen. You might need to spend some of the assets and money we have available. With the last restructuring of a contract done, I think we still got like $14 million in cap space. You might need to spend some of this money and assets on a linebacker. Quez looked good yesterday. Everything I read, Quez Watkins had one of the best days in Philadelphia in his time here, game and practice and camp. Like, he was making great plays. I saw he made a huge contested catch over Zach McPherson. That Zach McPherson didn't do anything wrong, but Quez Watkins just dominated him. That was good. So from what I've heard, OZ, Zalek, whatever his name is, had some drops from what I heard in individual drills. He looked good in 11-on-11s, but individually he didn't look too good. Quez is the guy in the clubhouse right now at number 3. It's his job. Desai doesn't believe in redshirting players. Shots everywhere like it's Friday night at the club. Well, I wasn't really much of a clubber, so I wouldn't know what shots at the club are like. I was more go to the bar and listen to live music instead. But Desai's going to put a lot of pressure on these guys. And it's easy for Sean Desai. Like I said, my question is Sean Desai coming off of, his 1 year as a defensive coordinator was in Chicago 21, and they were just a train wreck of a team. He didn't have this kind of talent on the defensive line front like he does now. So his job's going to be easier. But when you got the Mike linebacker position, a guy that hasn't played really, and you got no options if he can't play the position to back him up or take some of that pressure off. Just think about it, Sean Desai's got to figure out how to get Nakobe Dean ready to play. But also, Nakobe Dean has to make it like the talent drop-off from the Kobe Dean and all the other linebackers, that puts a lot of pressure on the Kobe Dean. Like, I talk about whoever plays right guard, Tyler Steen, Cam Jurgens, Jack Driscoll. I've named a bunch of people. But at least they've got Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce on either side. So whatever, lack of judgment or mistakes they make, they got Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers, all pros on either side of them. Now, I'm not saying you need that, but you need somebody opposite of Nakobe Dean that's got some experience. Do you not? You need somebody there that can pick up some of the pressure, take some of the pressure off of him. Now, right now, Nakobe Dean's got to worry about his position and what's going on the side. I do not need Kelly Drip. I mean, I'll take it, but I don't need it. You got 20 minutes till Kelly Green. We're going to celebrate when Kelly Green goes on sale here. I'm not sure how much linebackers can show during camp. Games have to be played. That's a fair comment. It very much is. And somebody else said that. Maybe it was you, Tyrone, last week when I was talking about linebackers and everyone thought I was overreacting. And I'm not, and this Eric, I'm not concerned about Nakobe Dean. I like Nakobe Dean. I think he's a super talented guy. And I get that, linebackers are more in-game kind of thing. Practices, they're never going to shine. But you want to at least hear their name mentioned in individual drills, anything. You just want to hear their names mentioned. And when you hear their names mentioned in a sentence where we're going to talk about them because we're not hearing about them, or we're going to talk about them because they're not doing anything good in camp, it makes you concerned. I mean, I say we figuratively, as the Eagles organization, don't value that linebacker position. And they've shown that this year with the lack of talent, period. Not just average talent even. You got Nakobe Dean and you got a bunch of scrubs. And I'm not trying to knock on these guys. Morrow, Ellis, Taylor, Bradley, all these guys. They are what they are. They're in the NFL. We're not. But they're not good. They're not going to win you a game. They might lose you a game, but they're not going to win you a game. I don't think they practice with pads. They don't practice. They haven't practiced with pads yet. And Nick Sirianni was asked yesterday when he thinks first padded practice will be. And he's like, honestly, we haven't decided that yet. We just want to keep getting them these drills and getting them in the right positions so they know where they have to be on plays and different situations. That's what they worry about. I bet you outside of the joint practices, the Eagles might put pads on 3 times throughout training camp. Like, that's how little they're going to practice with pads. Teammates have said great things about Nakobe's communication and detail. Yeah, that's fine. Teammates are going to pick up their teammates. I still need to see it. And I'm a huge Nakobe Dean fan. I literally was ready to celebrate like a Super Bowl victory when we drafted him in the 3rd round. I could not believe it. That draft, I was looking at him in the 1st round. How can we trade back up into the 1st round to get him? Well, actually, the pick we traded for A.J. Brown would have been a place I would have taken him. But not only has he got to figure out how to be the leader of that defense, he's got to go from that. He's got to fill in for 2 starters that are lost, and he's got nobody opposite of him that can play the role. That puts a lot of pressure on you when you we're not talking baseball right now. I'm not sure where our guest is yet today. But when a pitcher knows his offense, can't score runs, he presses, he pushes a little too hard, then he starts missing the plate, hangs a breaking ball, and gives up a home run. That pressure can cause mistakes because you're covering 3 positions when you're supposed to cover 1. That's the way the league. Linebackers are not valued around the league. No, what's not valued around the league is running backs. Can we get sidetracked off of the Eagles for a half a second? This Jonathon Taylor situation this weekend. I guess he formally asked for a trade out of Indy because Indy won't extend it. He's going into the last year of his rookie deal. He wants his extension. Jim Irsay, that fantastic, owner and operator of the Colts, said, nah, not going to do it. And he's going to hold out now. Now it's coming out that the Colts think he hurt himself in the offseason. And they're not going to pay him. Jonathon Taylor says, no, I'm not hurt. Like, it's getting ugly in Indy now. Like, real ugly, real fast in Indy right now. Just imagine that first Saquon, Jonathan, you guys still got Dalvin Cook, who's a free agent. Ezekiel Elliott worn down, but still a free agent. Now Jonathon Taylor, who was going number one in I know fantasy football and real football is different. Number one in fantasy football leagues across the board last year. Not going to show up this year. Insane. What's going on with these? And Jim Irsay, some of his quotes that he said, I'm not even going to repeat them. The guy's a nut job, Jim Irsay, without a shadow of a doubt. A complete and total nut job. And you got a new coach, Shane Steichen. You got a new young quarterback. You don't have much talent on offense. And you're going to let your running back not play because, you're going to hold a fine line on this running back thing. He's making $4 million this year. Second round pick last year of his deal. The guy wants an extension. You run him into the ground every year. He wants a little bit of security in life. I don't even know what he wants. I don't know if he's looking for like some $100 million contract. But hell, give him some kind of security. Make him at least a little happy going into this season. Teammates are going to pick up their teammates at the same time. Teammates also say it's a 5-on-5 game. James and I can't do it alone. Oh, my God. Marshawn, why would you bring the Sixers into this equation? If he wanted to be traded, he should have taken some crack into the offense. Winning comment of the day right there, for sure. Jim Irsay is a nut job. Basically a nut job. Irsay says, nobody will remember you, Jonathon Taylor. Yeah. Yeah. If somebody said that in Philly, on any team in Philly, man, the world would be blowing up. But it's Jim Irsay. So, it's just par for the course for him to say things like that, right? He basically said the league will continue to operate with or without JT. Absolutely, that's what he said, basically. Problem is that Jonathon Taylor is a damn good running back. But he's also got a lot of mileage on him already. And he knows the way everything's going on with these running back contracts. He also knows that at any given moment, one hit could be his last. Running backs that are great, they hit a wall at any given moment. We've seen that with so many running backs across the history. And once you hit a wall as a running back, you're good as useless in the NFL. Once you lose that burst or that strength in your legs, you're good as gone. One ACL tear, one broken bone, you're done. And he just wants to get paid. This year they're gonna with a young quarterback. Well, they got Gardner Minshew. I don't know what's going on, whether Richardson or Minshew will be the starter. I don't even know what they've said in Indy with their quarterback situation. But you're gonna need to rely heavily on your running game in Indy this year. Take care of them. At least a little bit. Just make them a little bit happy. Say, all right, you want $100 million. I want to pay you the $4 million you're doing. That's it. Let's meet in the middle somewhere. Crack in general is wild. Honestly, I can't imagine. I just don't get it. I don't. And that's the guy they have as an owner. Thank God, dude. Tyrone. It's one of the things I talk about nonstop on this show. We've been going almost 2 years with this show. A couple months now on Philadelphia Sports Network. It's crazy how great of an owner Jeffrey Lurie is. Legitly think about Jeffrey Lurie compared to Jerry Jones, Jim Irsay, Josh Harris, Daniel Snyder, all these different guys in Philly and outside. Just think about it. I've never really thought too detailed on it, but you would be hard-pressed, in my opinion, to find 5 owners in all of sports across the world as great as Jeffrey Lurie. The way he runs his organization, the way he takes care of his fans, the players, what he gives back to the city, the culture, everything. I don't think I've ever heard in the last 5 or 10 years a single person say anything negative about Jeffrey Lurie. He literally does everything right. It's insane. The Morrow family still owns the Giants and the Steelers. Can't JT pull a Dame and say, I only want to play for the Dolphins? Well, I mean, Dalvin Cook wants to play for the Dolphins, too. What, are you going to put JT and Dalvin Cook on the team together? Looks like Dalvin Cook is going to be in an AFC East uniform. It's just whether it's the Dolphins, the Jets, or the Patriots. Why the Bills' name isn't involved in this, I don't know. But it looks like, it looked like Dalvin Cook was just basically visiting the entire NFC East or AFC East this weekend. But this running back thing still is crazy. And yet then here we go with Eagles camp. DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny. I was, can the Eagles find a way to keep 5 running backs? I mean, we saw a lot of reports coming out of camp this weekend that DeAndre Swift was catching balls out of the backfield a lot, but he was also lining up wide. And there was one reporter that showed or shared a clip or a video or a picture. DeAndre Swift out wide beat Josh Joby, I think, running a sideline route. Like he lined up as a wide receiver and just ran a route and beat a cornerback. That's how good DeAndre Swift can be. Yet Jeffrey Lurie spent $7 million on 5 running backs. I mean, look, but these are all running backs that would never get big paid contracts. But it does show the discrepancy in pay in running backs. That's the commit I meant with how the organization wanted to give the Kelly Green a new look. It had Brayman and Toast associated with it. I mean, Tyrone, there's so much negativity in my mind. Like, I was a kid during the Norman Brayman era. I was a youngin'. I was born in 1980. But my dad, and that's the thing, going back to that story I talked about earlier about the tradition of Kelly Green and how parents pass it down to their kids and their kids pass it down and so on. Like, I still have negative feelings for Norman Brayman because of what my dad told me about Norman Brayman. Like, that guy was a scum. He was bad for the team, bad for the city, bad for the club. Like, so the Kelly Green is passed down, so is some of the negative feelings of that era, for sure. And Toast was awful, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. This running back situation, what gives in the running back situation? Like, how does the running backs get some of the power back? Obviously, Saquon had an opportunity to do that, but chose to take less than $1 million in incentives tacked onto his contract to give in. What is up, my man Drew? How you doing this morning? We're sticking to Eagles. It looks like I don't know what happened to my guest today. We're supposed to have a little Phillies talk on today. We don't. Whatever. Maybe he pops on later. But we're talking Eagles. Kelly Green. Look, it's 8 minutes till Kelly Green opens. The door's open, and you can go buy your Kelly Green. Wouldn't it have been funny if, all the trash talking I do about Kelly Green, that I was first in line. I was doing the show live from line, and I was first in line there. I would have been such a hypocrite. My pops passed on the misery of the Sixers to me like it was a gift worth a giving. Yeah. That was Phillies and Eagles to me. My dad didn't watch a lot of basketball growing up. Or at least I don't remember him. I almost think he cared more about the Flyers than he did the Sixers growing up. That's why I don't talk about the Flyers on the show much, but I am a Flyers fan. I mean, I've gone to the most sporting events I've gone to is Phillies. Then it's Flyers right next to that. And in the last 20 years or 15 years as an adult, like probably more Flyers games. Been to a lot of Flyers games. I'm a huge Flyers fan, but that's what's passed down. But it was always Eagles and Phillies in my house. Phillies because he could afford to take a hard working class family to a Phillies game at the Vet back in the day. But it is Philly everything. But also, Eric, I was taught by my father that if you move to another city, say just I moved to Florida or something like that. Say I moved to, we'll just say Tampa area. All right? I still have to be a Philadelphia fan because that's where I grew up and that's where I'm from. But I should show support to the hometown team as well. If you move to another city long term, you should show support to that team. You don't have to make them your number one because you're from Philly, but you still should show them some support. You can't bring back running back. It's a throwback position. They've become. I think it comes down to, I forget who it was talking about Christian McCaffrey this weekend and how he's involved in other aspects of the game, running, catching the ball out of the backfield, block. Like, I think running backs can still find a way to get paid, but they got to be more than one-dimensional. Now, Saquon does catch the ball out of the backfield a little bit, but he's got the injury history. Jonathon Taylor's I don't think Jonathon Taylor catches the ball out of the backfield much. You're just not going to see those big contracts. But at some point, if more people start becoming Christian McCaffrey type running backs and successful at it, maybe if a team wins a Super Bowl, finally, like if you look at the teams that win Super Bowls, they're all winning Super Bowls with Dalvin Cook hasn't made it to a Super Bowl. Derrick Henry hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Christian McCaffrey hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Until a Super Bowl is won with an elite running back being paid or an elite running back that's about to get paid, And that running back had a man like back in the day, like Terrell Davis, like the Broncos. Do they win those Super Bowls? Does John Elway win those Super Bowls without Terrell Davis going off for how many yards in those Super Bowls? Probably not. Maybe not. Maybe they do, but you get one. Like he was such a vital aspect of it. Does Dallas win those Super Bowls back in the 90s without Emmitt Smith? Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. So until a running back is a massive contributor to a Super Bowl victory, an elite running back that is, because Panchero had a played a part in the Super Bowl, getting to the Super Bowl at least with the Chiefs, but he's not a vital part. He's an interchangeable part, in my opinion. The Eagles last year, Miles Sanders seems to be. We're going to find out whether Miles Sanders was an interchangeable part or not as soon as the season starts. I learned about the rest of Philly sports team on my own. Philly everything. That is right. What happened to your brother then? I don't know what happened to my brother. I don't know. He got dropped on his head, maybe. Maybe he was in Jim Irsay's office with the crack one too many times. I'm not sure. But some reason my brother became a 49ers fan because Joe Montana was really good at the time and Jerry Rice. And he became a Bulls fan instead of a Sixers fan because Michael Jordan was the best player in the world and the Sixers stunk. You know what? Fugazi. I will always say that. Fandom is about pride, and my brother had no pride by leaving his city for other cities. And he's only a fan of those teams the years they're good. Oh, I have to work a lot. I didn't get to catch the 49ers game. Well, the 49ers are 2-12. That's why. But last year he was watching every 49ers game when they were on their way to the championship game. Fugazi fan. And you guys all loved him because of his hair. I think the talent gap being so small is the major reason for running back devalued. There isn't a lot of overly talented guys, but there's also not a lot of opportunity. Let's be honest. It's a passing league. And that's why running backs being able to catch the ball in the backfield, line up as wide receiver. Like I said, DeAndre Swift was lined up as a wide receiver multiple times yesterday in camp practice. Shout out to Mike Greger for giving us that information while he was covering it for Philadelphia Sports Network down there. Like, unless you can be a multi-dimensional scat back kind of running back, it's going to be very hard. But on the flip side of the equation, Drew, I have spoken to coaches, and they're talking about, you notice defensive tackles are getting smaller. They're getting more athletic, but smaller. You don't see many 340-pound defensive tackles just clogging up the middles running games anymore because nobody runs through the tackles anymore. So there is an opportunity in this league if a running back or a team wanted to commit to running the ball in the tackles that you might be able to do that. But then those running backs still don't get paid. They still get worn down quickly. I think it's tough. No, I first moved out here when Jordan was winning on the back end of his second three-peat, and I was still repping my Sixers. For sure, man. Like, but did you at least start over time? Did you at least grow to, because you're living out there, they're going to be on TV all the time. The Sixers aren't. You still probably caught yourself catching a few Bulls games here and there and maybe going to a game here and there and supporting the city, which is supporting the team. You know, I got a kid I graduated high school with. He's out in Chicago area somewhere. He takes his kids to sporting events out there, but he still makes sure his kids represent Philly, where they're from, on a regular basis. At least that's what social media and Facebook posts tell me. Facebook's great for that. Look at the O-line guards. We'll never make what tackles make. But what has to happen if one guard becomes so good he raises the market value of all guards? All it takes is one coach or one organization to change the valuations of a position. All you got to do is have one coach or one team or one owner or one GM say, this guy is vital. We're going to pay him more than anybody else. And it resets the market. That's what happens with the quarterback situation. Quarterbacks reset the market all the time. There's going to come a time where tight ends reset the market and start making wide receiver type money. Possibly. Centers, they don't make what tackles make or guards make. But all it takes is one person to reset that market because an owner or a GM values them a certain way. To my point, Tyler Algier ran for 1,000. You can find running. You can, and that's fine. I get that. You can find value all over the place at running back. You can, and a strong offensive line does that, and that helps. But then you got guys like Derrick Henry. Titans don't have a strong offensive line. Their offensive line was so weak they had to go out and spend big money on Andre Dillard, who is better than I'm letting on, but making my point here. Derrick Henry gets paid big money, but yet the Titans can't make the Super Bowl. So there's all these different components that we're looking at here with this running back situation. And what do the Colts do with Jonathon Taylor? And what does Jonathon Taylor do here? If they won't trade him, is he going to sit out a year? Like, that doesn't always work. Look what happened when Le'Veon Bell sat out. He came back and became a shell of his former self. What happens? Who bends? Saquon Barkley thought he was doing something good, and all he did was bend a smidge and get less than $1 million extra, which is not good. So, there's no end in sight for this. What would be interesting, and what would have to happen, is something like, and this is a crazy scenario that's not going to play out this way, Miles Sanders has a great season in Carolina, helps lead them to the playoffs. We gave him up and signed 5 guys for $7 million, and then we struggle because our running game isn't as effective as it was last year. Problem is, the rest of this team is so good, I just don't see that happening. That would be the scenario. If I wasn't an Eagles fan, I'd say Miles Sanders having a great year, the Eagles running backs crashing and burning, and us losing a few more games. Like, that would be the scenario. And just we needed bigger personalities mixed in there somehow. Jonathon Taylor going somewhere else and leading that team to the playoffs. Maybe he goes to Buffalo, and that's the missing piece for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Getting a guy like Jonathon Taylor back there that could change the complexion of that offense massively. And then the Colts stink even more. That would be something like that, where the Bills finally get to the Super Bowl because of Jonathon Taylor. Or Miami actually does better with him, or something like that. That would be the scenario. Now, I did let my son wear a D Rose and Noah jersey. Joakim Noah, man. A lot of people rock those Noah jerseys for sure. First playoff game was a Bulls versus Celtics, and you cheered for the Bulls in that game, I'm assuming. And Derrick Rose, man, I loved Derrick Rose when he was a rookie. He was an exciting young player when he got into the NBA. What was that, like 2011? How long ago was Derrick Rose a rookie? Damn. If you get a bunch of Derrick Henrys that now pound the smaller defensive tackles into dust, that may swing the pendulum back. Exactly. And then what you'll see, it's the evolution. There's cycles in football, Tyrone. It's becoming a passing league. So what's more important? Getting after the quarterback. So defensive tackles are becoming more athletic. So that gives you room to run in between the tackles. So then what you do is the running backs start doing that more. And then the next cycle is defensive tackles start bulking back up again and becoming more important again. It's a cycle all across the board, all positions. What matters with wide receivers, what matters with safeties, linebackers, whatever it may be. You can argue Saquon got the Giants to play. Absolutely. And if he held out, see, that's the thing. Like, I don't like when players hold out, because I just want all the best players playing at all times. But I get why they do it. And Saquon holding out and only getting $900,000 in bonuses, like performance bonuses added, and that's it. Like, it made no sense to me. And he could have held out and made a statement and proven, if the Giants don't make the playoffs without me, see how valuable a running back can be? I brought this team, not Daniel Jones. You paid Daniel Jones $160 million, but you won't pay me more than $10 million this year on a 1-year contract. Let's see how you do without me. That would have been the ultimate stand, him holding out. Now, hopefully, Jonathon Taylor, I don't want to see Jonathon Taylor not play. He's a great running back. I want to see him on the field on any given Sunday. But make the statement and hold out. Somebody's got to be the martyr for the rest of the running backs. Got to. Sometimes it works out in your favor, sometimes it doesn't, but you got to. I feel for the running back. They carry the ball, pass block, dynamic pass catcher. Yeah, I mean, the pounding that they take on their body every Sunday. There's a reason why their position has the shortest career expectancy in the NFL. It's a shame. It really does. But the NFL is built right now where it's like somebody said. Was it you, Drew? Yeah, like you said, when Algier can run for 1,000 yards, it shows that there's no value in the running back position. As long as you have a strong offensive line, a strong blocking plan, you can get mid guys running the ball effectively. You still need a good offensive line to make that work. Rose was Rookie of the Year in 2009, so a little bit of sooner. Man, it's been so long since that fire Rookie of the Year campaign for Derrick Rose. So long. The problem is the lost year in time. You can't leave that money on the table. I agree. I understand that. You make a stand and you risk so much. But also, you make a stand, you can make money elsewhere. There's plenty of ways. Jonathon Taylor making a stand and sitting out would be one of the hottest names in the media, circles and stuff like that. Interviews he could do, getting gigs elsewhere. He could find a way to make up some of that money. And he would be like he would be like the savior of the running backs. He'd be the one that helped maybe turn the tide back in their favor. I think it had to be Saquon. That's the problem. I think it had to be Saquon and him giving in so easily, in my opinion, really took a lot off the table for a lot of other running backs. I really, truly believe that. I really think he really did more harm than he did good by the way he handled his situation through social media, the way he gave in. So much that he did, I think he just gave in a little too quickly, a little too easily. Again, recap here. We're sticking to mostly Eagles here, which is happy for you guys. No baseball talk right now. But let's make sure we hit the like button on YouTube. We got 12 likes right now, 3 on Facebook. Likes, shares, retweets, follows, all that stuff. I don't even know if they're called retweets anymore because it's not called Twitter anymore. It still says Twitter on this screen, but everywhere else it's just X. Re-exit for me, whatever it is. If you want to get interactive and you're watching on Twitter, because I know we got a lot of people watching there, head over to the YouTube or Facebook page of Philadelphia Sports Network. That's where I see your questions and comments and thoughts. And you get interactive with the most interactive morning show, trending in the AM. He drew the circuit for 1 month and the media will treat him like an NFL owner. I don't know. Like, somebody's got to make a stand. Or it's just going to continue to go downhill for him. It really is. And we've had a lot of ideas floated around, having a separate salary cap for running backs. I don't know if that helps. Changing the draft slot pay for running backs. Well, they'll just draft them later. Like, there's so many things great ideas that we've presented to the table. And it just, every single one of them, there's a counter to it. That makes it maybe not as good of an idea as it can be. Anyway, we can get off the right way. I said, let's just get on a side tangent about the Jonathon Taylor situation for a minute. And now look, now we're 53 minutes in. We got 23 minutes left of the show. We've hardly talked Eagles training camp today. Recapping a weekend full of practices. And tomorrow, I've got a guy by the name of Gabe Martinez. He's a coach. He's coached in Europe, professional football in Europe. He's coached a lot of semi-pro leagues, indoor football leagues. He's a talent agent for Pro Level Sports Agency. Had him on my show before when I was on previous networks. Really smart football mind. And he's from Texas. I think he's a Houston Texans fan, actually. Not a Cowboys fan. But because he's from Texas, he's a big Jalen Hurts guy, too. So tomorrow's conversation will center around a lot about Nick Sirianni and the messages that he's sending this year, coming off of last year's year. So we're going to get the coach's perspective for about 25 minutes tomorrow. And I'm really excited about that. I love Coach Gabe. He's a great guy, fantastic guy. And when I put him on the show tomorrow, make sure you follow him tomorrow on the show, after the show and stuff like that. Very, very interesting guy. Knows football inside and out. But we have seen a different side of Nick Sirianni so far through training camp. He's still the rah-rah guy. He's still the guy with the quotes. But we've seen and heard a lot coming out of camp so far about how he's holding players to a different level of accountability, how he's holding the intensity level up a little bit. Yeah, they're not practicing in pads yet. They might only practice in pads a cup of coffee amount all training camp. But what he's doing, you got the blowhorn, calling players out for every mistake. At the end of yesterday's practice, it was only about 80 degrees. It wasn't as hot. Get it perfect. 2023. That's right. And what happened yesterday? What did we hear about yesterday's practice? When practice ended, who won yesterday's practice? The offense, according to all reports, won yesterday's practice. Guess what? The defense did some running after practice yesterday. You guys didn't perform well. You lost that last play. We're done. Start running. That's holding them accountable. Wanting every side of the ball to be perfect every day. And saying, we're not going to sneak up on anybody. We've got to be even better than last year. We've got that target on our back. We've got to be better. And they're doing that this year. And I think it's really, really interesting that his personality has evolved already. He's still the T-shirt gate wearing, quote making, jovial coach. But he's flipping a switch. He's saying what we did last year wasn't good enough. We got to be better. And we are going to be better. And he's holding them to that. I don't want to see any double birds from my head coach this year. He is now at a level where he feels secure enough to call out anybody. I think this is a key one. Eric, I like your comment. I don't want to see no double birds either. But I like this comment from Tyrone here. Does he have more confidence himself now? Like, he got this team in 2 years back to the Super Bowl. This was a long-term project to groom Jalen Hurts or find the next quarterback, to build a new culture and system here in Philly. And in 2 years, we made it to the Super Bowl. He made it to the playoffs in his first year. But now he knows what he's doing is working. He sees the results last year of what his process is. So now he's got the guts to call people out. Now he's got the cojones to say, I can push it even a little further, and these guys are going to respect me. The respect of the leaders on this team, they respect me because it works. Now, I don't think there was much doubt that this team respected him, but I think personal confidence in yourself, like the guy saying, we got your back, coach, it's one thing, but you still got to have confidence. I still am trying to gain confidence in doing this show every day. And when certain things happen, when Jason Lee says, Phil, I want you to come on my TV show to talk about Sixers or Eagles or Phillies, that helps build that self-confidence up a little bit more when you see the results of your hard work. When you guys drop a super chat, and I greatly appreciate those $5 tips here and there, that shows me, that gives me a little added confidence every day. When I see Tyrone, Marshawn, Eric every day in here, mad chatter. It started with just 2 or 3 people every day. Now we got 10 or 12 people every day in here talking what we want to talk about. That gives me the confidence. And that's the same thing with Nick Sirianni. Like, seeing the results give you that added little extra that says what I am doing is working. That this crazy idea in my head is working. That's what Nick Sirianni, this crazy idea in my head on how to run a football team is working. And I think this is a great comment from you, Tyrone. And I don't know, it didn't work last time. I'm going to snapshot this. I'm going to save this. And I'm going to try to put this up on Twitter today, Tyrone, because I love it. And I think it's a really, really, really valid point that you make there. Like AJ said last year was last year, and everyone knows the goal around here. Top players buying in. For sure. I think the players bought in last year. But it doesn't mean Nick Sirianni was deep down inside truly confident in himself. He believes in his players and its system. That's a great combination. Absolutely. But that validation of last year and how the season went, and losing the Super Bowl sucked, but it's still getting to the Super Bowl is still a validation to an extent. And I think that validation, personal validation, does actually matter. That's why I think Joel Embiid might be a little bit different next year. I don't want to start talking Sixers. I already said we can't do that. But now he's got the MVP. It makes him realize that, people do see me for what I actually am capable of. Personal validation matters. Nick also has the blessing from the core 4 to call people out, including them. Right. For sure. And I think he had that ability to do that last year too. Like, if he calls out Jalen Hurts for making a mistake or gets in his face and blows up on him, Jalen Hurts is not going to. What happened back in the day for the old timers? Randall Cunningham got called out or benched in a game, and he turned his jacket on inside out and moped around the sideline for the rest of the game. Like, Jalen Hurts isn't going to do that. Jalen Hurts is going to accept it and lead by example. Be like, all right, so I got to be better. And I think that's a big, big piece right there. He's been calling people out. He's a fired coach. Remember when he yelled at Jalen on the sideline? Exactly. And what did Jalen do? He got better from it. And that's what we want. We want our players to get better, to accept accountability when they make mistakes. We want our coaches to do that too. But I think we do see a new level of confidence in Nick Sirianni. And this conversation, we're doing this now. We got 15 minutes left in the show. But this is going to kind of be the point that I bring up with Coach Gabe Martinez when he's on the show tomorrow, if I got better luck with guests tomorrow. Nick will be the next big contract extension. Interesting. Well, you got Devontae Smith. You got a bunch of guys that are going to be coming up on contracts. Devontae Smith. Son Reddick's going to need an extension or a restructuring after the season. There's going to be a lot of contracts coming up soon. But Nick Sirianni, if he shows even if we don't make the Super Bowl, God forbid, knock on wood, we don't make the Super Bowl, but we still make the playoffs. The end result of still being one of the best teams in the league year in and year out, he will get an extension. He will. Oh, my man. Thank you. I appreciate it. And this is all I want. This is all I want, is to provide you guys with a place to have a conversation every single day. That's all that matters to me. We all need to have a place where we can have a conversation every day, and your opinions like I say, your opinions actually matter, but they do. You listen to the Sports Talk Radio, and I occasionally get trapped and turn it back on. They don't care about your opinions. They give you 30 seconds. I give you guys all the time you need. As we know here in Philly, coaches don't last even if you win a Super Bowl. There was more to that Doug Peterson thing than let on. I can't wait 20 years from now when I'm old and decrepit at 60-some years old and can barely click a mouse and my hands hurt from holding a microphone for so long, which I know somebody said, why don't I use my stand? I should probably put the stand back together, but I like to have the mic in my hand. The real story. I need the real story. Carson was a part of that situation, unraveling. What happened with Doug? I need the real story. The unedited version. I really do. I'm not going to be nice and not say anything mean about anybody. I need to know. Because there had to be more to that story that we don't know. Players did buy in last year, but as you know, some players say it's the talent on the team, and even the Giants safety said anyone could have coached that team and guided. Yeah. There's some truth in this, for sure. There is some truth in this, for sure. But on the flip side, Nick Sirianni is feeling that confidence now. And he's feeling better about being able to make the statements. He is. When are we getting a book from Doug Peterson or a podcast guesting on? See, that's the thing. Like a book, I think Doug Peterson is just such a nice guy. I don't think Doug Peterson's got it in him right now while he's still in the NFL he's not going to speak the truth while he's still in the NFL. Maybe later in his career when he's retired, maybe he lets on more. Maybe when we do the ESPN 30 for 30 on the Carson Wentz era, maybe once Wentz is retired, he says a little bit more. That's the thing. Like, we need the Bill Simmons getting the gut, getting the real nitty gritty from him. We need somebody to appear on Pat McAfee when he basically gets people to say whatever. We really need the truth. We need a media member to trick somebody into saying the truth. And I'd be curious down the line to find out what, Nick Sirianni, when he was interviewing for the Eagles job, I wonder if he said to Howie Roseman, so what happened in this Doug Peterson situation? Or if Howie Roseman's like, no, or Nick Sirianni was just so excited to have the opportunity, he didn't care what happened. He was just taking the opportunity. But Doug Peterson had to be at fault somewhere. Carson Wentz obviously was at fault there. Howie Roseman was at fault, I think. I think Jeffrey Lloyd. I think everybody was at fault. And the fact that we've been able to rebound as an organization so quickly, you got to give Lori credit, Howie Roseman. You got to give credit to Nick Sirianni for helping rebound this organization so quickly. We were going to go into a rebuild, not a retool. Literally, we had the bad 2020 season. 2021, right back to the playoffs. Doug was loyal to a fault, and I still think he is. Wheels had to fall off before he moved on. And it wasn't just the win-loss record, Tyrone, that made him move on, though. There was something going. There was a power struggle between Howie, Jeffrey, Doug, and Carson Wentz. Carson and Doug lost that power struggle, I guess. I don't know. Something happened there. But you know what? We've rebounded from it. 30 for 30 on Wentz. Then we finally get who was talking shit about him. Yeah, I mean, yeah, did we finally find out if it was Alshon enough? I know we all thought it was Alshon. I know we all think it's Alshon. But deep down inside, I think there could have been somebody else leaking that information too. I'm not sure who. Maybe Malcolm Jenkins. I know we love Malcolm Jenkins, but I kind of feel like maybe Malcolm had a little part in that too. I don't know. This team becomes a dynasty. I kind of titled our show Friday, but we kind of got off track and didn't get to talk about that. Like, we do literally have the potential. We are not a dynasty yet, obviously. But Howie Roseman is building this team into a dynasty level team. I mean, we've got veterans now. We got youth now. We've got a franchise quarterback now. We've got a coach that everybody buys into that can call out an entire defense and make grown-ass men run laps after practice. That's something you see at Little League practice. That's what I see my man Nick, who's coaching his son, who's playing the first year with pads on this year. Kennett Titans. Make them run laps. You don't see that in the NFL. You don't see pros running laps after practice. Something special is brewing here. But as you said, it could all fall apart at a moment's notice. And that's the thing. I want to know why it fell apart. Did Doug want Carson or did he want Hurts? I don't know who wanted who, Adam, and I think that's the problem. Like, we won't know till 20 years from now, Adam, the real truth to this whole situation. Just think about it. As great and as high as Philly is flying right now, we still have two great 30 for 30s that we got coming in the future. The Carson Wentz debacle and the Ben Simmons debacle and the process debacle. Like, so many 30 for 30 that can be made just in Philly. And just got to put me with a producer, a documentary producer, and I can executive produce it. You can direct it. I got ideas for 30 for 30s, and we got to figure this out. I want answers. Managers don't get paid for handling problems. They get paid to see problems coming. Love that. It's another dude, Tyrone. You can be like a motivational coach. You got so many great quotes today coming in, and it's true. And that's what's great about this Eagles organization right now. They're proactive. That's why I'm surprised where the linebackers are at this point. Or maybe we're reading too much into it. But managers are, I want my team and my organization, the leaders, to be proactive, not reactionary. And that's what a lot of teams in the NFL are. They're reactionary. No, imagine if it was Nelson Aguilar who was talking. I mean, yeah, for sure. It could have been. Had we won last year, we would have been a dynasty incoming. We still are. A dynasty doesn't mean you have to win every Super Bowl. It just means you have to be competitive and be one of the favorites and be in the running every year for the Super Bowl. If the Eagles make the playoffs the next 10 years in a row, appear in 4 Super Bowls, win 2. To me, that's a dynasty. Alshon wouldn't hide if he said something. Yeah, that's why I was always curious why it was always pushed on Alshon. Like, Alshon struck me as a guy that said, yo, I don't like you. He would have said it right out in the open. He would have been doing sit-ups in his driveway, just like T.O. Like, I really firmly believe that. Definitely. I really believe that that's what a dynasty is. Really wanted it bad last year. We all wanted it bad last year. We all want it bad this year. Especially after this year had so much promise. The Eagles were in the Super Bowl. The Phillies were in the World Series and lose. The Sixers this was going to be the year. They fail. The Phillies, even though they're a good team, they're so frustrating at times. We need the Eagles to win this year. We need something to uplift us after how the Philadelphia sports scene has unfolded. The Union losing the title game again. We need that title. We really do. When we won the Super Bowl, our running backs were the key factors running the ball and catching the ball. Not essentially the same running back doing the running and catching. They were, yeah. I mean, you had Jay Ajayi, you had LeGarrette Blount, you had Corey Clement had a big catch in the Super Bowl, obviously. But they were You had two guys at the end of their career and some unknowns. We had a very, very special offense that year. And look, I'm not going to talk bad about Nick Foles or Carson Wentz or anything like that. But they all contributed to that Super Bowl. But this is different. Like that team, I don't remember thinking that team was going to turn into a dynasty. And that was a pretty quick turnaround from Doug Peterson, too. Doug Peterson takes over the team in 2016. What did we win? 7 games that first year? Then we go to the Super Bowl so quickly. Like, I didn't think that was going to be the dynasty long term. I had confidence in Carson Wentz, but we still didn't have wide receiver weapons regularly. We still didn't have the perfect offensive line regularly. Our defense was leaky sometimes. Hell, we gave up 500-plus yards to the Patriots that year. But this feels different. This feels different than that 17 team. Bigger question, is Philly a loser, letdown city? 3 major sports teams. Don't forget. Well, yeah, so the Eagles, the 6. Yeah, so, yeah, I was going to say you're forgetting the Union, but you're putting the Union in there too. We've had a lot of letdowns this year. We are a loser city. Like, don't get me wrong, Marshawn. This is not meant to be negative. This city has more losses in professional sports than any city in the entire world in the history of sports. I mean, our Phillies were the first team to lose 10,000 games in the history of sports, period. Like, just let that sink in for a second. The Phillies are the most losing organization in the history of sports. So, yeah, this is a loser city. But we're a passionate city, and we love our teams. Here's a list of players with 250 catches and a 16.5 average in their first 4 seasons. Torrey Holt, Randy Moss, and Jerry Rice, and A.J. Brown. So these are not your statistician. You don't want that. If it's wrong, you don't want credit for that one. I get it. You got to put per Rob in there. And just to think about it, and just to think that Devontae Smith could be better than A.J. Brown. Just think about that for a second. Jalen Carter is saying all the right things. He's doing all the right things. The reports are saying that he's the real deal. Like, Jalen Carter may go down. He's got the potential to be one of the greatest Eagles defenders of all time. That's how talented. If he's got his head in the game, and he stays healthy and whatnot, he is the real deal. We're going to forget about Javon Hargrave really freaking fast, Marshawn, because of Jalen Carter. This time around, Howie has a workable plan. Youth, assets, and money. It should happen. Yeah, and the thing is, Tyrone, Howie has learned from his mistakes. Something clicked in Howie's mind that doing the same thing, what's the insanity quote? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. He realized that finally. And he's learned from those mistakes. He's built a plan. He's got a plan in place. He probably already knows what he's doing 3 years from now in the offseason. He's already thinking that far down the line. He is. And that's crazy because old Howie wasn't like that. Old Howie was kick the can down the road, with the cap money. And then you have seasons like 2020 where you have all that dead cap money. Oh, my God, I missed it. I forgot. No, I'm not getting my Kelly Green. Not getting my Kelly Green, Davion. Not at all. If somebody wants to buy me some Kelly Green, I wear it. I ain't rushing out for it. I'm sure it'll be on sale at Walmart in about 2 weeks. And I don't have to wait in line at 5 a.m. like everybody else for Kelly Green stuff. Love the attitude from Jalen Carter, but poor choice of words. Look, he's a kid. So, look, we all hate the Cowboys, so I'm not gonna kill him for it. In today's NFL, with so much parity, it's really hard to build a dynasty. The franchise can't get complacent at any level to sustain. And the key thing here, mister, is that Howie Roseman has learned from his mistakes and mistakes of other, he's seen what Ruben Amaro did with the Phillies. Howie Roseman is not afraid to let a guy walk. And I think that's the key. As long as you have a great coach with a great culture and you got your franchise quarterback, the rest of the pieces need to be interchangeable. And you got to understand it's a business. Devontae Smith is going to need a big payday. Then A.J. Brown and Hassan Reddick are going to need restructuring. Something's got to give. You know what I mean? You can't pay everybody top dollar. Letting Javon Hargrave walk proves that he's willing to move on when the time is right. letting Chauncey Gardner-Johnson walk, even though you traded a draft pick for him. Showing that you're allowed to do it. The restructures of Slay and Cox and the extension given to Bradbury, not big deals, not long-term deals. Cox is only on a 1-year deal because he knows there's going to come a time where you can't pay these guys, and you've got to have Cox ready to go so that Milton Williams and Javon Hargrave or Jalen Carter step in, knowing when it's time to say peace out, which is 9:30. We only got 12 likes on the video on YouTube, 4 on Facebook. I got to wrap this show up here in the next 2 or 3 seconds. But in today's NFL, that parity is knowing when to walk away. What's wrong with his words? Why apologize for being just saying that he wanted to kill the Cowboys, I guess. Maybe, ready to kill them. I don't know. Whatever. There's nothing wrong. We got to wrap this conversation up. We'll be back to more training camp talk tomorrow. We'll talk more training camp. We'll have Gabe Martinez in here. We'll talk. Bring in the comments right away from 8:15 tomorrow. Remind me about this dynasty conversation and this Nick Sirianni. So we're going to pick right up with the star of the show, talking Nick Sirianni tomorrow with Coach Gabe Martinez. Look at the Chiefs. They lose a top wide receiver and they go out and win a Super Bowl because they've got a plan in place. It's a well-run, or they got a great coach with a great culture in Andy Reid, and they got Patrick Mahomes, a franchise quarterback. That's all you need. And a GM that knows what moves to make and when. That is all. It was a great show today. Considering, my guest, I got to find out what happened with my guest today. He confirmed last night, didn't show up, but it got me off the Phillies. Means I didn't have to talk Phillies. We'll try to talk Phillies on Wednesday. I have another guest lined up to talk Phillies in the trade deadline. We'll get to that on Wednesday. But tomorrow, Coach Gabe Martinez will join us at 8:30, 8:15. We're live tomorrow. We're going to kick it off with Nick Sirianni talk, culture, dynasty building, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share this video. Tell everybody to join the #1 morning show in Philadelphia. Jalen Carter's a walking HR complaint. Well, you know what? Who cares? As long as we win. Well, they need Kelsey too. Look, we'll move on to all this conversation tomorrow. Everybody have a great Monday. Got to get to work. Got to make the pizzas. Got to make the dough. For Trending in the AM, I am Phil Stiefel here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We will see you tomorrow, 8:15. Coach Gabe Martinez tomorrow, guys. Have a great day.